Still tackling the tax reform saga, the bill that's been making headlines across the nation. So President Bola Tinubu's proposed tax reform bills have sparked intense debate, particularly among northern state governors who fear the reforms will negatively impact the region. Now, we've made it clear, of course, that it's not just that region that would be affected, not only the northern region. We're talking about the south, some part of the southwest, and even mostly all states in the country, just few of them exempted. So the four bills in question currently before the National Assembly aim to overhaul Nigeria's tax system. However, critics argue that they will disproportionately affect the North, leading to reduced revenue and economic hardship. Or leading to reduced revenue, but then create more economic hardship. So governors like Zulum, that's the governor from Borno, the Borno state governor, have voiced concerns that they will not be able to pay salaries if the bill is passed. On the other hand, proponents of the reform argue that it will bring relief to many Nigerians, especially those earning below 1 million naira annually, who will be exempted from the income tax. They also believe that it will encourage revenue generation and retention in each state and the region. So joining us virtually from Tilde in Bauchi State is Dr. Aliyu Usman Tilde, a renowned public affairs commentator, to dissect the facts, dispel misinformation, and explore the implications of the tax reforms on national development. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's good to have you. So, Doctor, for clarification case, for us to lay the facts for average Nigerians to understand what this bill is all about, can you please explain the key objective of the Nigerian tax reform bill of 2024?
Okay, before I answer your question, I think there is a need to make some introduction. First of all, I'm not an expert in taxation. Let me make that declaration and let it be very clear. I have had supporters of governments, and I'm one of those, saying that people that have filled the air with opinions and so on are not expert on taxation. One thing is that you don't need to be an expert in matters like this before you can air your views. Why? Because this bill has social and political ramifications. It is going to affect us socially, our livelihood, and so on. It is also going to affect even the government itself politically. So people are the subjects of this bill. Nigerians are the subjects of this bill, not experts on taxation. In fact, you expect every expert on taxation, to support this bill because he derives his livelihood from FIRS, from the will-be Nigerian revenue service. So you don't expect him to criticize it. But we Nigerians that are going to be touched by it, whose pain is going to be added, whose lives are going to be tempered by this bill, we have every right under our democratic dispensation to express our views, to express our fears, and to highlight and advise governments on how to go about it such that it becomes seamless. So though I'm not an expert, and though majority of Nigerians certainly are not experts on taxation, but we reserve the right actually to pass our comments. Number two, I'm among the people that have brought this government to power. I campaigned for it. I did everything possible. In fact, I even resigned my position as a commissioner of education in order to belong to the campaign team. And we thank God that we have succeeded. Now, we cannot allow this government to derail. We have promised people that this is going to be a pro-people government. And once it begins to come up with policies that will ruin the lives and livelihoods of people. Now it is paramount on us as we campaign for it to come out and advise it publicly. So that is another reason I think why I am here. Having given this introduction so that people will know from where I am coming, I'm a supporter of the government, nevertheless, but I will have to criticize it where I feel is not good. Now, the tax reform bills are actually about 4 or so, but summarily you can say that many people have said this is innovative, it is good, it is going to modernize our taxation system, which I agree. I am a proponent of technology. I have used technology in governance, and I have found it to be extremely useful when I was the Commissioner of Education. It gave me the ability to control both teachers, students, and school administration, and the ministry at the same time. So we were running a very, very efficient system there. I believe this bill, when we expunge the bad side of it, or what we consider, we laymen, we Nigerians that will be affected by it, if we expunge or moderate, the areas of concern in it, will come up to be a very good contribution to the nation. One of the things that it introduced, taxation has been here for a long time, so taxation is not new. Mr. President is not bringing up anything new anyway, so he is not committing a crime. Taxation has been here for long, but for example, it is going to modernize it through fiscalization. Fiscalization means that things will be computerized and internet compliant. So systems will be used, the EFS system, the electronic fiscal system will be used in order to reach out to businesses, to evaluate businesses, to reach out to areas of taxation, whether they belong to the domains of individuals or they belong to the domains of companies and whatever businesses or governments and so on, so that nobody will hide from taxation. To me, this is very good, because without taxation, we cannot develop as a nation. And honestly, apart from the civil servants, if you talk about individuals, apart from the civil servants and those that are in formal employment, in fact, over 90% of Nigerians may not even be paying tax at all. So that's why our governments at various levels, don't have sufficient money, to run the system. The issue of misusing the money aside, that we may discuss about it, but fundamentally, taxation is important. And anything that will catch every Nigeria in the net of taxation, I think, should be promoted. It is important. Except that fiscalization itself has its own requirement, as the former chairman of the FIRS said, in fact, immediate former chairman of the FIRS said, that it will take something like about 5 years actually to implement. So saying that it will begin January and so on, so these things we will discuss. Now, there is also the tax debt tribunal. It is there. Then there is the tax ombuds. It is there. So these are things that were not there earlier in I think the Finance Act of 2021.
All right.
Now.
All right.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah.
I can hear you, sir. Well, not to cut you short, though, would love to dive into a different aspect that has also generated, lots of questions and has also had lots of misinformation and confusion among Nigerians, which brings us down to the sharing formula of the proposed increased VAT rates and the sharing formula. I love how you spoke about how
Yes.
it's going to affect Nigerians in terms of increased cost of living. People will get to pay more. And then we're also seeing the sharing formula that has now been made for 60% on derivation, and then the other percentage for population
and equality. Nigerians are saying that most states will suffer on some parts, and some on the other parts are saying that this will encourage governors to boost manufacturing in their states. And we understand that one of the reforms moved by the presidency and, wanting to make Nigerians or this nation to start manufacturing and producing a lot more. And there's also a school of thought that believes that with increased revenue for derivation, it's going to encourage state governors to put in the work and encourage manufacturing, which will in turn empower people. And would this in turn see the effect or the increased cost of living we'll see on people? What is your thought on these several school of thoughts that are held on the sharing formula and the ripple effect it will have on the nation, its pros and cons? We'd love to, get your thoughts on that.
Okay, I think there are three aspects to issue that you have raised on derivation. But before we come to that, people talk about governors, that the governors won't have enough money to run. It is not only the governors, my sister. In fact, it is first the people. Because these Nigeria Tax Act, as they call it, makes a provision, for increasing the rates of VAT from where they are today to double them in the next 5 years. Now we are at 7.5%. It took the country, in fact, 30 years. 30 years, from about 1988 when the sales tax was in effect, to 1993 by the decree of 102 that came into effect 1st January 1994. VAT has been 5%. Sales tax has been 5%. Then you move on until 2019, when the immediate past government made it 7.5%. So it took this country 30 years to increase VAT by 2.5%. You look at them, you look at the array of the governments that we had, that of Babangida, of Shonikan, Abacha, Abdusalami, and Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, Goodluck Jonathan, and half of Buhari. All these people didn't know that VAT can even be 17.5% as it is in the UK, but they decided to leave it at that 5% rate. And by 2019, by the Finance Act of 2019, it was made, it was made 7.5%. So 2.5% was increased. But here we are now. Here we are now that we want to increase it, by another 2.5%, that is to 10%, just by next year, if possible by 1st of January. So between 2019 and now, you have only 5 years to carry out a task that took the nation 30 years. We are moving very fast. And not only that, by 2027, it will be 12.5%. By just additional 2 years, you have increased it again by 2.5%. Remember the first 30 years. And not only that, by 2030, that section 146 says that it is going to be 15%. So within 5 years, between now and 2030, you have doubled the amount you are going to extract from the flesh and sweat of Nigeria. We feel that, personally, I feel that this is too fast. This is too fast. And Nigerians, if they know the implication of this, they will in fact react more to governors. Now, if you want me to come to the issue of the governors, fine and good, yes. You will have to put yourself in their shoes. Half of their house will be banned. Yes, because VAT contributes by last October, when the FAC took place, the Federal Allocation, whatever committee, FAC, took place, 54% of it was VAT contribution. So 54% of their houses, is affected. And that means if a governor is getting 5 billion naira, so about 2.5 billion naira likely is coming under fire. Something is going to tamper with it. So that's why the governors, it is only the northern governors that are bold enough perhaps to come out, because it is the north that will be affected en bloc. The south, you have some four, Lagos, Rivers, Ogun to some extent, even to some extent, Oyo may be a bit happy. But the rest of the south, all of them are going to cry. But because they have northerners doing the job now, they have all kept quiet. But believe me, they are complaining in silence, along with their governors. The reason is that if you come to Bauchi here, for example, the bulk of commerce that is taking place depends on salaries of civil servants, because that is one single injection of cash, of money that you get into the system on a monthly basis. Once there is a delay in that, now even the girl that sells groundnuts will notice it. But as soon as salaries are paid, some billions have been injected into the system. I want to give you a graphic picture of it. Now, imagine if those billions will suddenly shrink to something like a quarter of them. Everybody will be affected, my sister. And I don't think that is being fair. But proponents of the system and the tax bill itself suggest that no, if there is a derivation of 60%, when you raise it from 20% to 60%, now it is likely, if the location is consumption-based, which we are going to come to that and express our apprehension under Section 2212 of the proposed tax bill. If it is going to be consumption-based, then Borno, would be entitled to the tax, whether it is from banks or from MTN and Airtel or whoever, whether it's calls or text or whatever, from whatever you get VAT. Now, Borno will get proportionate to the amount of VAT it has generated. Unlike the headquarter-based location that we operate now, where all these things, as people complain, are credited to Lagos. Now, the problem with that is that fiscalization, as an expert said, is technically impossible if we say we are going to do it on consumption or on a location based on consumption. Why? Because majority of Nigeria, are not ready for that fiscalization. The shop that is just outside my house now, if I buy Coca-Cola there, right, it should be credited to Bauchi. But who knows that I have bought that Coca-Cola here? The shop is not on the internet. The owner of the shop doesn't have NIN. The shop itself is not a business that has NIN. And these kind of things. Now, unless you get everybody on board on the fiscalization policy, which now the former immediate chairman of FRS said will take years before you really complete it. It is only then that you can apply this formula and it works. But if you rush, as it is happening now, and say you will give 60% derivation without this fiscalization being completed, there will be war in Nigeria, I tell you.
We hope
and it may not be even here in the north. It will begin from Ekiti, Oshun, Imo, and so on. We northerners are just being more vocal about it, but this is the problem.
Dr.
Yeah.
With all of this realization and understanding of the complication of this tax reform bill now, what would be your suggestion as someone that have studied this bill and studied the pros and cons? What would be your best solution, advice to the government to follow their approach?
And I'm in fact, it is my responsibility to this government to advise it, as I told you, because I am a supporter of the government. I will caution the government against rushing on this bill, because this bill touches not only on individuals and governors, it touches also on governance in Nigeria, particularly at the federal level. In fact, if you look at section 197, section 198, and section 199 of the proposed bill, there are so many things that are going to be repealed or deleted and so on in the enactment, in the enabling, or in the acts, of various organs of government. Now, have these various organs been consulted on this? Have they given their reports on what impact these deletions of parts of their law, including the Petroleum Industry Act, including so many things like the Export the Processing Zones Act, NIDA, Head Fund, NASE, Custom and Excise and Tariff, National Lottery, Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act, Nigerian Startup Act, Export Act, and so on, and so many others, about 11 of the major ones that are going to be seriously affected. I think the government, first of all, needs to withdraw this bill. Go and do its homework very well. See how this bill is going to impact on other arms of government or other sections of government apart from just taxation. One example I will give you is that of NIMSI. NIMSI now, if I read well, I remember I have read a sentence, will now come under the National Revenue Service, the new FIRS, if you like. Why? Because the NIN, your NIN now will expose you wherever you are. You will be under the eyes of the law or of the tax collector. You can't run away. Once you have a NIN in Nigeria and you have a bank account, and virtually everybody now must have bank account because government has been withdrawing cash in circulation, slowly in preparation of this. These are all good things because I'm an advocate of technology. Seriously, So that mean is paramount. And the NRS feel that NIMSI should, in fact, it should swallow NIMSI and appropriate it. But the problem is this. NIN is also used by other departments of government. Take education, for example. We are proposing an index number for every child. There cannot be a better index number for any child, better than the NIN itself. Education is going to use NIN in its tertiary institution. It is going to use NIN in JAM, in so many other things, in writing WAEC and so on. Does it mean then NIMSI now will one day be?
All right, Doctor, can you hear us?
To the Ministry of Education. Now there are many other arms of or MDS, let us put them, many agencies of government that are going to use NIN. Now, to deny the NIMSI of its independence and then bringing it under the armpit of the NRS,
yes, Dr. Tilde.
I think these things need to be reviewed. I have given the NIMSI just as an example. Okay. That is one thing. Okay. The bill needs to be withdrawn, and the government does its homework better. Remember that the NEC, the National Economic Council, was the first to say that this thing should be reviewed. It should be, returned for a more thorough consultation and so on. Then the governors came in. Now, about specific portions in the law.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now, yes.
All right. Thank you for that point. And I love that you mentioned NIN. And when it comes to monitoring, tax payment to avoid tax evasion, compared to global climes, it's not the first time that they are coming out to say, oh, Nigerians are not being taxed enough when it comes to paying for services and goods that are being consumed in the country. Now, in comparison to other climes, no doubt we have our reservations when it comes to how this money is being used in developmental issues in the country, being that Nigerians are not seeing the dividends of their tax payments and the returns. They're not seeing the dividends when it comes to development, when it comes to the economy. But there's still that opinion that holds that Nigerians are not being taxed enough. And you spoke about NIN. Isn't that a plus when it comes to being able to track and make sure there is no tax evasion? Now, are you saying that there is simply no positivity or there is nothing that could be done to make this tax reform bill work? And are you saying that, the NIN being under NRS is not a good move to avoid tax evasion? Because these monies need to be brought into the coffers of the government. So what's your stand on that particularly, especially when it comes to the bill? Are you saying it's completely, should be thrown out completely or completely be looked into and there's nothing positive about it at the moment?
No. I mean, it should be withdrawn and governments carry out broader consultations on it so that next time it presents it to the National Assembly, it will be a bill that is palatable to all Nigerians and to all sections of the country and to all levels of government. This is simply what I am saying. I am just in concordance with the National Economic Council and the position of the governors, who also are members of the NEC. So that is what I'm saying. But as far as the NIN is concerned, I have mentioned it. It is very, very important that it is going to be used in order to monitor, to identify taxpayers and then monitor their transactions to ensure that Nigerians are properly taxed. I am for that.
Okay. So in comparison to other clients, would you say we're on the right track? Because we know how other clients prioritize taxation. We know how important it is to pay your tax in UK, US. We know how they don't joke with monies that come in revenues. So would you say we're on track and this would see a positive move in the next couple of years?
Yeah, if done well, this will be a positive move, but not so fast and not without doing the right homework and not taking many things into consideration and not waiting for us or for the nation to be ready for it. We are not US, we are not UK. They have been on the internet for the past 40, 50 years and so on. They have evolved systems in the past 500 years. We are just 1960 or at best 1914 to date, And why the rush? That is the problem. That is what we are asking. But let the system, let the platform be there. Let that mean go. Let government, in fact, for example, let government embark with the cooperation, with the active cooperation of the governors. Now the governors have more work than the federal government itself. They must make sure, in order to benefit from their VAT and other benefits of taxation, they must be able to properly capture, the consumption that is vatable in their domains. Now, they cannot do that without their citizens having need, without their businesses. In fact, no matter how small, businesses and shops being registered. Now that is the responsibility of governors. Now, but they need to be given time to do that. But now we have seen what the bill means. We have seen what it demands. I think the nation needs to be given time to prepare for that. And then it is returned after a lot of consultation in agreement. And without much fuss, it will be passed without a problem. But if you pass it as it is, you try to develop or adopt a coconut head and bulldoze your way, this bill is not a national anthem. No, it is a bill that is almost 400 pages. that every page is going to affect Nigerians in one form or another, you don't need to rush it. This is my advice.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Tilde, for sharing your thoughts and your advice with us on the show this morning. It's been quite an eye-opening and informative conversation. We hope Nigerians have been able to pick one or two from this. And we will also encourage, Nigerians have little or no information about that. So at every opportunity, do well to educate them one way or another. But we hope those who have been on the show have been able to pick something. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, that was Dr. Aliyu Usman Tilde, public affairs commentator, talking about the bills, talking about the tax reform bill of 2024. And hopefully we get to see better results that would favor every Nigerian.